Do you believe that if a person is not religious, that they are less of a man because of it?
No, I don't. But
Okay.
I do say, though, by what standard do we say them good or not so good? So if someone is not religious, that's going to be an eternal problem that they'll have to figure out.
Understood.
However, if someone is not religious, we have to look at how they act and how they raise their kids. By what standard? We view that through a Western Christian ethic.
Yep.
And so through the Western Christian ethic, we judge what is a good man and what is not a good man. And the Bible is full of great men and not so great men, right? And even the great men of the Bible made a lot of mistakes, right? The great man of Moses killed somebody. The great man of Abraham sold his wife basically into slavery in Egypt. But they also did a lot of good.
All right, he may be confused. I want to know what a man is. Okay, so let's listen to Charlie, our response.
Hello, Mr. Kirk. My name is Chance. And I apologize if one of these has been covered before. It was a little hard to hear. Oh, thank you. So I wanted to know either your thoughts on masculinity and the definition of that, or religious, using religion as the objective morality.
Which one would you like me to
Whatever
tackle?
hasn't been covered as much.
Yeah,
Whatever you think.
the what it means to be a man hasn't been covered.
Okay, yeah,
right?
let's talk about
to be a man is to have self-control over your fleshly desires and an attitude towards courage and defending those that can't defend themselves, fostering a family towards godly purposes, and picking the fights that the rest of society should not be involved in. That's what men should do.
Understood. So with the godly purposes, do you believe that if a person is not religious, that they are less of a man because of it?
No, I don't. But
Okay.
I do say, though, by what standard do we say them good or not so good? So if someone is not religious, that's going to be an eternal problem that they'll have to figure out.
Understood.
However, if someone is not religious, we have to look at how they act and how they raise their kids. By what standard? We view that through a Western Christian ethic.
Yep.
And so through the Western Christian ethic, we judge what is a good man and what is not a good man. And the Bible is full of great men and not so great men, right? And even the great men of the Bible made a lot of mistakes, right? The great man of Moses killed somebody. The great man of Abraham sold his wife basically into slavery in Egypt. But they also did a lot of good. The best story for young men right now is Genesis 12 of the Bible, which is basically like get off your tail, leave your father's home, and go on an adventure for God's purpose. And of course, all throughout the scriptures, men in particular are called at this time, and it's the Hebrew word hineni, which means here I am, which is God will call you to a place out of comfort and into duty. We see that with the calling of Isaiah, the calling of Samuel. We see that with Moses. We see that with the calling of Jacob. And so we as men need to be called sometimes to not what we want to do, but what we ought to do, which is that word that I love that is being lost in America so much as called duty.
Sure.
Makes sense. So one more question to that is, do you believe that the modern movement to of feelings and men with feelings and stuff like that makes them any less of a man, or things like therapy or whatever?
I mean, of course, we as men must have feelings, but women are more emotional. That is how they are wired. However, here's the issue, is that we as men need to do a job as society, in our families, in our marriages, to always make sure our reason triumph over feelings. That is largely what the biblical role is, and what made this country so great, is that we must have deep feeling and also deep thinking in our life, both of which. And we're honest, we've had way too much feeling and way too much emotion-centric governing over the last couple of decades, especially the last 10 years, and not nearly enough reason, calculation. And so, look, a man who's in touch with his feelings, fine. However, if that verges on the line of self-indulgent narcissism, and towards what end? And by the way, the number one feeling you should have is adoration for a God that made you. The greatest feeling is you should always petition those things to the Almighty.
And I guess this may be a little off, but for people that have had multiple experiences trying to connect with God, or some sort of higher power in some form, but have not been able to find that, what would that person do you believe?
Well, what you aim at is what you get. The first thing is you got to read the Bible every day. And then finally, if you want to get closer to God, stop doing sinful things. I always laugh. People say, well, I'm not close to God. Yeah, I was up till 3 a.m. drinking, and I've been doing weed all day long and watching pornography and eating whatever I want to eat. The flesh dulls the spirit from getting closer to the Almighty. And by the way, this is just good life advice. Mm-hmm. If the flesh dulls your spirit, getting closer to the Almighty. So it's just good life advice. If it makes you feel good in an instant, it's probably bad for you. And a man versus a boy is someone who is able to say no for the things that feel good but aren't good for you over long periods of time. A man versus a boy is someone who's able to have delayed gratification, not go out drinking every night, treat women with honor and respect, stay up late and actually, studying. People were booing, saying not going up, drinking every night. That's fine, but it's like success comes at a certain cost. If you guys want to be average, then you guys can go be the chief executive officer for your local Bud Light Club or whatever, right? Instead, if you want to be excellent at something, it means saying no to the flesh, saying no to the things that make you feel good all the time. And our society is highly addicted to pornography, highly addicted to substances, and we wonder why we have the most depressed, anxious, alcohol-addicted generation in history. A lot of these reasons are because of that. So what it means to be a man are a lot of those things, and also standing up against injustice. The most masculine thing you can do is stand up against the injustice and the suffering of others. And this is what bothers me a lot, is that we are called to defend women. We are called to defend women that are being criticized, that are being criminalized, or whatever you say, especially in our marriage. And then finally, we as men are not called to go sleep with like 100 different women. That's BS. Find one woman for your life as a wife, take her as your wife, and have a family with that person. Monogamy takes effort. There is no skill in being, a polyamorous polygamist. In fact, you'll end up being a very miserable person if that's the case.
That makes sense. I understand your perspective.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Would it be okay if I shook your hand?
Yeah, sure. Of course. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Wow. All this advice that Charlie gave to these very college students, I believe that is something that he will hold on to it, and for a very long time. He will not forget, about some of these teachings that Charlie just gave to him. And then to some of you, who also listen to Charlie, advice, this very young man when he was asking about who a man is. And then as you listen to Charlie, educating this very young man, you got to realize that for you to be able to define your sense of morality, it means that you have to be someone who is connected to God or a supreme being or something, of higher, power. Then until then, that's when you can be able to look and says that, okay, that very supreme being, what is the moral standard, of that being, or how does he want, people to act if they are in his presence? Then from there, that can be able to define that. That's the reason why you see an atheist can be able to tell you if something is good or bad. Because if you say something is good or something is bad, then it means that you have to use a particular moral standard to be able to define that. That's why then, since they do not believe in existence of God, then they can't tell us what is good or bad. But if you believe that things can be good and then things can be bad, then you have to believe in a supreme being, which is what God, which is Jesus. You need to believe in Jesus in order for you to live in Jesus's principled. America have decided to identify that, and of course decide to build their country based on the God principle, based on the Jesus principle. That is why it has been expected that as far as you find yourself in America, then you have to live by the God principled. And then on that note, that's when you can be able to define sense of what morality. And then that's when you can be able to talk about if somebody is not being shown justice. That's when you can talk about that. Oh, okay, this person is being oppressed, or this person is being violated. Then how do you define it? It means you have to believe in that very moral standard first before you can talk about if there is injustice, that you need to act as a man. So it means that you being a man, you have to abide by God principle. You have to act by it, by obeying his commandment and by accepting Jesus as your Lord and personal Savior. By so doing, that is when you can be able to live by Jesus principle. You can live by the new covenant, because he says in the book of Romans chapter 10 verse 4 that he is the new covenant. Jesus is a symbol of the new covenant. So it means that the law has been change. So you need to believe in his principle in order for you to live, you understand, a very good and moral life. And that's why we believe that what we have a day of accountability, because if you don't even believe, you understand, in any sense of good morals, then what is the point of accountability? What is the point of what? Justice. For you to talk about, you understand, injustice, it means that what you have to look at, you understand, something to be able to like know, right? And the principle have already been said to us by our Lord Jesus Christ. So it was actually a very beautiful one. I hope that to some of you, in a sense, who are listening to me currently in the studio, are also learning from some of these videos and encouragement that Charlie Kirk, in a sense, actually gave this college kid. Well, I know that a lot of you would like to share your thought, in a sense, when it comes to sense of morality, believing, in a sense, in your religion. I know that in Islam it could be different, but then if you're a Muslim, of course, you can also share yours, in a sense, with us at the comment section, and may God bless you as you do so. So have a wonderful day and goodbye.